Classic Rock TK99 and TK105. That's Foreigner there. It's Gomez and Lisa here as we welcome in our pal Joe Convertino Jr. from CH Insurance. Another episode of Survive and Thrive. Joe, I know you've got a special guest joining us here today. Who are we going to be chatting with this morning?
Good morning, Lisa and Gomez. How are you? We had to survive on the drive this morning, huh? With a little snow.
Absolutely.
It's here. It's here. Well, I'm happy to have Adam Panek, tax partner, member of executive committee for Grossman St, actually right across the street from us here and down from your offices. Little bit of tax planning. Here's about all the business clients and what's going on year end. Adam, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
But Adam, question though is like we've talked about all our businesses in Central New York, take us through the last few months, obviously the pandemic, how your firm took it to another level, keep your employees safe, and obviously maintained your business culture.
Perfect. It came on so quick, we were talking about a plan to maybe work at nights at home because that's our tax season. We're working 17 hours a day, 16 hours a day. So people could go home and work at night to kind of separate. And within 3 days, it was like, here's our plan. We went 100% out of the office. We equipped all our employees with computers for home, monitors for home, anything they needed to help them, whether it was a desk office chair, printers, and we went 100% remote. And it was challenging, but the people here are really resilient. They responded really well, and it couldn't have gone better if we tried. I mean, it was probably the worst tax season in my 25 years, I will say that.
Wow, and you're a larger employer. How many employees at your firm?
We're about 45 people.
45 employees.
All right, tell you what, we'll take a little bit of a break here and on the air, but this is all continuing on our Facebook page a little bit later on. You'll be able to see and hear the entire Survive and Thrive with Joe Convertino Jr. and Adam Panek. It's Gomez and Lisa, and we'll be right back. And just like that, look at that, just like magic.
And we're back.
Yeah, we are back. And yeah, we'll continue with this part of the conversation here.
Guys, so Adam, I had a question about business taxes and because of COVID. So when you're doing taxes in the, January, February, March, coming up in 2021, looking back at 2020, are businesses getting tax breaks? Will they have to pay back some of the money that they may have gotten from COVID relief? How are those things affecting? I mean, this is all new for you too. You've got to learn all this stuff and how it applies to which businesses, et cetera.
Right.
Tell us more.
We spent the entire month of April and May and on to June looking into the Paycheck Protection Program. That was the loan through the SBA, through the banks, forgivable loan if you used it correctly. One little thing that is coming up in the planning, and we knew this was coming and we warned people, is all the expenses you paid with those loans, that when they're forgiven, those expenses become non-deductible. So it's creating a bit of a tax nightmare for some of our clients who essentially got the money, gave it to their employees, gave it to their landlords, gave it to pay for utilities. And then when they file their tax return and it comes time to pay the tax man, you've got these non-deductible expenses, which in essence becomes taxable income. So saying it's forgivable and not taxable is kind of a misnomer because it really is taxable. And they don't have the cash flow, some of these clients, because their business is so depressed in certain sectors. It's a real problem. And Congress knows about it. They've talked about it. They said it was never the intent. Hopefully something will happen. That's all in our planning. That's really a big focus right now, is trying to plan for this for everybody as they start to get these forgivenesses come through.
Well, if they didn't make the money to have the deduction, then is it sort of what I want to say? It's like a zero-sum game. Do you know what I mean? If they didn't make the money,
most of them made maybe they didn't have a profit, but when you add back these expenses, now they have a profit.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the expenses put them in the loss. Because normally if you just close and don't pay your employees, all you really have are your utilities and rent, which some people didn't pay their rent because, you know, as the governor said, you know, if you can't, you can't. So what's happened is they took the money, they paid their employees, but now it flips and goes into deduction. So
Yeah.
yeah, it does seem like it would be a zero sum, but it's not, because they wouldn't have paid their employees otherwise, you know. So now it's
and that's all got to be accounted for somewhere, and
It
that's where you
does.
come in.
and it's creating some real headaches, especially in the restaurants and area and bars. I mean, they've been decimated. I mean, it's
Yeah. So
really
Adam,
sad.
as we talked a little bit about yesterday, I mean, obviously you have different industries you guys work with,
Mhm.
but what has been the common theme for most businesses, questions you've been getting this time of the year as we get ready to close the year? I'm sure it ties to what Lisa said, but what's the biggest question you and your staff are seeing?
It really is the PPP loan forgiveness. I mean, I am spending a lot of time going through that with clients and helping them with their forgiveness application. Some information that's needed, and planning for the taxes. How are they going to pay it? You know, what can they do to offset it? I mean, if they've got some extra money, is there some capital improvements they could do that they could write off? Plus, there was a lot of other changes to the tax law. They changed some depreciation rules and fixed a problem from 2018 with the latest tax changes. And we amended a slew of tax returns to take advantage of those deductions, which helped with our planning to cover the any PPP problems. But it is the PPP loan. That is what I'm most, you know, you know.
Well, Adam, how about as it trickled down and then to the people who got unemployment checks and the CARES Act money, the PPP, doing individual taxes? If you didn't fill out that you're going to have taxes deducted from those, you got to pay taxes on that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And that's part with the individual side. If we go flip over there, a lot of it's, if they got the unemployment, dealing with what that tax situation is going to look like. There were some other situation law changes. The required minimum distributions from pension plans and IRAs was suspended for 2020, so people didn't have to take that money out. Obviously, they might need it, but if they don't take it out, then their taxable income, of course, is lower, and maybe it frees up some other things. Some people got creative and maybe put some money in a Roth where they more normally couldn't have. But the unemployment's big, because if they didn't take any money out, eventually you got to reconcile that.
Gomez, you know that saying, death and taxes.
You can't escape, you know, nobody
can't escape.
Alive.
Right.
Adam, is there one thing that people can do to prepare going into, tax season next year? What can I do now that's going to make my life a lot easier come the spring or, winter when I start to try to do my taxes? Because sometimes you try to start them in February. Oh, I'm going to be early. I'm going to do it. And then it just all falls apart. What can I do now to make my life better in the months ahead?
You know, you described a big chunk of my clientele, great intentions, and a lot of returns got filed October 15th. We had the whole summer, people locked up in their house and they still couldn't get their records. I was a little slow with my own. I always encourage people, if you're doing the return yourself, take a look at 2019's tax return, go line by line and look at what you had last year. Odds are you're probably going to have it this year, and start gathering those records immediately and put them in one place, even if it's just a box that says 2020 taxes. I mean, it's just helpful to have it all in one place. And you got to set aside the time, and I know it's hard to do, but you got to set aside the time and sit down and just go through it. Especially if you maybe you have a refund, why don't you want to get the refund? You want to try to get that as soon as you can. If you do direct deposit for that, they come really quick. I've seen them in 7 days. And if you owe, you can still file your return. Just don't send the check in until April 15th. You know, so that gives you a little time to plan for what you owe too. If you do it early and you owe, you've got a couple months there. You can start to plan your cash flow for what you may owe if you do owe.
Now, Adam, we can't predict the future. Obviously, we're getting slowly through the pandemic with the vaccine coming out. Could there be extensions again like last year? You don't know, but can you imagine if it?
Boy, I gotta be honest, I hope not.
Okay.
We needed it this year, but what it did is exactly what I thought was gonna happen. We just took our tax season from January to April and made it January to October. And it spread it out, but there was still a big crunch at the end, you know, because people who wait to the last minute will wait to the last minute no matter what the deadline is.
Whatever, yeah.
So
wow.
So I kind of hope not. It's possible if things aren't looking good right now. I'm a little concerned. You know.
Well, tell us a little bit about your company, Grossman St. Amour. I know, you know, it had some changes in the past, but tell us about the firm and how you're doing and, you know, what you're about.
Great. You know, we've been in business for about 63 years. We started out as a firm called Green & Seifter and changed our name a few years ago, and now we're Grossman St. Amour, but it's still the same firm. Some newer players, of course, in those 63 years. We have a wide range of clientele. We have large companies, and we have the sole proprietor, and then we have the people we just do their personal return. So we really run the full gamut, and a lot of work in the medical field, retail, commercial rentals, partnerships. Our audit department does a lot of school districts and pension plan audits and business audits, of course, too. So we really full service accounting firm, anything you can think of. We have a couple of valuation analysts that do business valuations. We have fraud examiners, and we have a couple certified financial planners as well.
Nice. Now, you're a local kid, Auburn and Utica Tech grad. We were talking, Gomez, who's the famous, and he went to Port Byron, Adam. Who went to Port Byron, Adam, or Gomez and Lisa? I'm going to hint, was a famous Yankee.
I know the answer to this, John, if I've mentioned this during the segment before, but in the high school baseball game, I struck him out.
Oh, whoa! You
Mel
did?
Hall.
Mel Hall. Who'd you play for?
Marcellus.
Oh, okay.
Mustangs.
Yep.
Class of 78. This would have been like in 70.
I forgot.
6 or 77. I wasn't a senior yet, but yeah, it was Mel and his brother. I forgot his brother's name.
Vernon.
His brother. What's his brother?
Vernon.
Vernon was at the time probably as good
or better.
But that part's true. But like the reality, if there was, I'm glad there's no YouTube now or cell phone because it was basically it was like two enormous foul balls and then like a very questionable called third strike.
Mel Hall.
Mel Hall.
So Lisa, he answered the question. He is the smartest person alive. Don't you guys do that each day?
Yeah.
Was there ever any doubt?
Hey, Adam, what's like the craziest thing that someone's tried to like write off their taxes just out of curiosity, just like trying to convince you that this is a legitimate business expense?
Oh, the craziest thing. I see a lot of people, I've seen a couple people tried to write off things for their pets, in their business, because their dog comes to the business and, it's like a guard dog, but it's really a little terrier about this big, And of course, we can't deduct that. That's but they put up a good argument though.
Well, Ed, hey, thanks. Great meeting you and great talking to you. Joe, as always.
Thank you, Adam. Great job. And we wish you well moving forward, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a great holiday with the family.
Stay safe.
Thanks, guys.
All right, great. See you guys soon.